What up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and I am here today with a review for College Hill Celebrity Edition. That is season 2, episode 7. This episode is titled "It's So Hard." It's hard to say goodbye, you guys. So before we go ahead and get into this review, if you guys are watching this video or any other video on the channel and you guys aren't subscribed yet, then do me a solid favor and stop taking me out on this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys know the routine. You can do me that favor by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, turning on your post notifications, and also by sharing the video. You guys, and with that out the way, without further ado, let's discuss College Hill Celebrity Edition, shall we? Alright, you guys, so I don't expect this review to be like super duper long because for me, the episode didn't give a whole lot. Speaking of, excuse me. Speaking of the episode, you guys, did you guys see that there's a guy that is suing BET and Paramount and all of them for $2 million because of them not airing the fight between Jocelyn and Amber? I had to crack up laughing at that. It was funny to me. So, Jocelyn and Amber, you know, in the last episode, it ended with them going to talk to Dr. Petty, right? So you guys remember, at the beginning, Dr. Petty told them that there's a strict policy of no fighting, right? So, individually, Jocelyn... So, individually, Jocelyn and Amber both sat down with Dr. Petty, right? And like I said last week, both parties were wrong. Amber was wrong for, getting physical and putting her hands on Jocelyn. And Jocelyn was wrong for the things she was taunting her and basically telling Amber how she should identify herself, right? So both of them are wrong. So now Amber. When Amber was sitting down talking about Jocelyn hit her first, I was like, girl, you got up and swung on her. But so yeah, that's she sat down with Dr. Petty and I got that she was defending herself. Honestly, with Amber, when she left the classroom the first time, I honestly wish Amber would have just stayed out the class and didn't come back, right? Because you could see that Jocelyn was being antagonistic, and even when she looked around to see if anybody was white in the class, oh, Miss Amber, but she's black. That was insensitive as hell, right? So, like I said, they both sit down with Dr. Petty, and ultimately, Amber's going to be going home because Amber got physical with Jocelyn. So then Jocelyn sat down with Dr. Petty, and Jocelyn was emotional. She was crying, right? If I hadn't saw that video of her last week from, that fight that happened at the Mayweather fight, if I hadn't saw that video, I may would have felt a little something. I may actually would have felt sorry for her, right? But after that video, I don't feel nothing for Jocelyn, right? I just feel like I hope that Amber whooped her ass. Now I know that people are saying that Quay and I believe it's Ray or saying that that Amber won. The world may never know, right? So Jocelyn was right though. Amber did attack her first, so I'm okay with that. But like Dr. Petty was trying to make Jocelyn understand, but you antagonize that situation. Like, it's freedom of speech. Yes, and that's the thing with people when it comes to freedom of speech. Everyone loves to use that whole, well, I have the freedom to say whatever I want to say to people, right? You do have the freedom of speech, but you don't have the freedom of consequence. You can say whatever you want to say to people, but if you say something that people don't like, there will be consequences, like negative or positive. There's going to be, people have a reaction to the things that you say and do. So that's that. But let's pause here and move forward, you guys. So we see the group, as they're getting ready to go on another field trip, right? So they went to the Harris house and they talked about the Freedom Riders. And, for me, I was watching this scene. I was listening to all the educational stuff, especially about the woman talking about Dr. King and everything. But, when it comes to when it comes to listening to the stuff about the civil rights and everything, for me, it's just hard to listen to it and it's hard to watch the footage, right? Because I remember when I was in school that I actually had to teach, so growing up, in my hometown, there are no technically, well, yes, there are. I about to say there are no like quote unquote white schools or black schools, but there are. So in my hometown, if you live on the north side, the east side, or the west side of my hometown, either so the north side of my hometown is predominantly it's us, right? The west side predominantly us, right? The east side you're gonna get us and a mixture of Hispanic, right? And even on my side, even on the side that I lived, even on the north and the west side, you'll have a sprinkle of Hispanics, right? And you'll have a sprinkle of some white people, right? But on the south side of town, that's the quote rich side of town, right? They have a lot of restaurants over there. That's where the nicer homes are. Now they are building up our side of town, the north side of town. They are building up, but in my hometown, pretty much all, people who live in the south side of our hometown, they are, have money because they have nice homes, like I said, the nice big homes and all that kind of stuff, the country clubs. So the school that my elementary school, you could kind of say it was a black school, but you had a mix. But you had black kids, you had white kids, and you had Hispanic kids, right? The same can be said for this. So I went to two elementary schools. The second one, you can kind of say that as well, but it was more central. It was more black students than there were Hispanics or even white children, right? And in the middle school that I went to, it is smack dab in the middle of the hood in the west side. So you pretty much have more black students that went there, right? But you had white teachers who taught there. And there was one teacher that I had. She might not have been my favorite teacher, but I will say she, some of the things that we learned were through her, like, especially when it comes to history, because she would show it to us in class. Like anytime Black History Month rolled around, she would always tie the lesson plan because it was history, and she would teach us about Black history stuff. She would teach us about all of that stuff. We would watch movies at that time when we were watching them, we didn't really understand what we were watching so much so. But as I've gotten older, I've realized why we were watching it, and it just makes me think like really, really think. Speaking of which, this episode and this weekend is Juneteenth weekend. So happy Juneteenth weekend to you guys. And tomorrow is Juneteenth. I'm filming this on Sunday. But what was I saying? Yeah, it just teaches you a lot of stuff, right? For me, I just hate I just I just hate to see the brutality, right? When you see when people be peacefully protesting, it's almost similar to what we see today, especially like with the Black Lives Matter movement, right? You saw so many people who were peacefully protesting, especially in 2020, getting tear gas and everything like that, right? But you had those insurrectionists who were let into the Capitol. So it's just a start. It's not much has changed, right? I think the only big difference is you don't see them turning the water, the fire hydrants onto people. You don't see them beating people with the nightsticks and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's the only difference. But like I said, for me to see all that stuff, it just it triggers me, right? It just makes me feel a way to think that people that, especially some of my people that I know and love, were treated that way. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And the other thing that I want to talk about is it's really interesting to keep hearing Ray talk about his grandfather and what his grandfather did. And again, I don't care about I don't care about anybody's political affiliations, right? It has nothing to do with me. But for someone like Ray J, I just don't understand how you can align with the Republican Party and they don't care about you. But that ain't my business. That ain't got nothing to do with me. So let's pause here and go ahead and move forward again. All right, you guys. So at one point, Amber came back to the house and, she was just talking to the others. She was talking about how unfair she feels it is, but I was like, it's not necessarily unfair, right? Because the rules are the rules. And unfortunately, you broke the rules, right? Granted, like I said, Jocelyn did, provoke her. And like I said, I just wish Amber had stayed out the classroom. So then where we at? So Tiffany, it's so interesting with Tiff. Like Tiff is flirting hella hard with Orion, and I'm like, girl, don't you got a fiance or had a fiance? Because I don't know how your fiance feels watching this. Like, unless you ain't letting your fiance watch this shit, how does your fiance feel about you flirting? I mean, flirting with Orion. Gave the man a bath and everything. But okay, go for it. So then we see Ray. So Ray met up with Jocelyn, right? And she doesn't really feel bad about what happened, about her talking about Amber and her identity. And I'm like, you don't feel bad about that? Like, you cannot identify somebody. That's not for you to tell her how she should feel, how she should act as a what. So I'm gonna call Amber biracial because that's what she is. She is a biracial woman, right? She is a woman who is half black and half white. So there is that. That's what I believe she identifies as. So I'm not identifying her. I'm saying that's what I think she identifies. I think she identifies as biracial. The only thing that bothers me with Amber is her saying that she doesn't fit into black spaces, which that's not at all true. You you very much so profited from the black community. So I don't know how she can sit there with a straight face and say that. It's mind blowing to me that she can sit there and say that she doesn't fit into black spaces. Yes, you do. You fit into black spaces for well over a decade. You've married black men, had children with black men, but you don't fit into black spaces. Okay, Amber, if you say so, sis. Um, So we also see Iman. So Iman went to a stitching class. That is something that I've always wanted to do. My grandmother was so good at that. That is one thing that my grandmother was like. She could stitch her ass off. She even had a sewing machine in her closet at one point. So like one year, she actually like made me a. So I had this Power Ranger pillow when I was a little boy, and it got to the point where the pillow had ripped apart and the cotton was just hanging out. And so my mom's like, throw it away. We'll have Big Mama make you another pillow. And my grandmother literally made me a pillow, with her sewing machine. And I was like, wow. Okay. I didn't, at first I was like, I didn't want it because I was like, this ain't my old pillow. But I grew to love it because it was something that my grandmother made for me. But yeah, that's it, you guys. So let's pause here and wrap up the episode, I guess, shall we? All right, you guys. So the last thing that we talked about is there was a woman that came to see them, and they basically talked about the one drop rule. Can we speak about the one drop rule real quick? I just think it's the dumbest thing for me. It's the dumbest thing that I've ever heard. Number one, and number two, it was them who did it, not us. But I feel like over the years we've adopted that. I feel like over years we've adopted that rule, and it's gonna go back to what I originally said about, like what I said about Amber, right? As far as the one drop rule, we can't, just because someone has a part black in them, we can't assess that they're black. Just like with Amber, we can't say that Amber is black. We can say that Amber is mixed. She's biracial. Unless she comes out of her mouth and says she identifies as a black woman, that one drop rule, let's let go of it at this point, you guys. Let's let go of that one drop rule, please, because I know, like I said again, I know that it was created by them for us, right? If you even had one drop of black, which is again, that's why it's called the one drop rule. If you even had one little drop of black in you, they considered you a nigga, a black. Ugh. Somebody just said that to me earlier on Twitter. Why blacks unlive each other. I was like, blacks? Is that what we go? Okay. You might as well just say the N word with the hard ER. But that's the episode, you guys. Please let me know what you guys think about this episode. down in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notifications, and also share the video, you guys. And until the next time, stay safe, take care of yourselves, wash your hands, be blessed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.